Alright, this is John Kohler with okraw.com to have another exciting episode for you, coming at you from my beautiful backyard garden this time of year. Got all my greens in, harvested a whole bunch of white Siberian kale today, totally amazing. Harvested lettuce yesterday, so many greens to eat, and so little time to film videos when I've been working basically in the kitchen all day prepping food. So anyways, in today's episode, I'm going to be answering you guys' questions. I like to do a Q&A maybe every month or so on this channel. And if you have questions for me, please check the link down below to go to my community tab on YouTube, where you can submit your questions there, which then may get selected for this Q&A that's going to be upcoming. Now, if you do have a question for me that you need to get answered, I do have a way you could do that. For just $5, you could talk to me for 10 minutes on my Fiverr campaign plus Fiverr service fee. It says garden coaching, but I'll basically talk to you guys about any subject or answer any questions that you may have. That's the only way that my viewers are able to get a hold of me. I apologize if you guys leave comments down below videos or contact me through the various social media outlets. My policy is to not respond because I really just can't keep up with everyday life. And if I had to answer people's questions, I'd be totally screwed. So, but I do like to answer your guys' questions and use my knowledge, you know, for the benefit of others, you know, because I've learned a lot of things on my journey now. And actually, this is my 25th year eating a raw, plant-based, nutrient-dense, fruit and vegetable-dominated diet, all right? So with that, let's get into today's questions. Ponderer Promener 1 asks, what fruits and vegetables grow well in New York City? I like to start a garden in my current unused backyard. So that's a good question. I have visited New York City, but I don't exactly know the climate type or what grows there well, because I haven't grown there myself. So I can't just say, oh, grow these things, they're going to grow good, because, you know, every geographic region is a little bit different. I do know there's a really good seed company up in your area that actually grows and sells seeds that are from your local geographic area, which means, you know, a lot of the seeds that you may buy in a seed packet might be from South America or from Tennessee, or who knows where they're grown, and then you grow them in your region, and then they may not do as well. So there's like a local seed company in your area, well, upstate New York, you know, that does that. Now, the other thing I would recommend is check out your local university extension office. They have done a lot of research and trials to find out what plants exactly grow well in your area, so that you can do it and have the, you know, optimal level of success. So why reinvent the wheel when somebody else has done most of the research for you? So that's what I would recommend, all right? Next question is from Health as Well TV. I wanted to know more about your findings of pesticides on the Medhemp emporium products. Thanks. All right, so here's a story. I did buy some industrial hemp for CBD that was claimed to be organic from Medhemp Emporium. And I was taking it, I was eating it, consuming it. And then I brought some to the trade show, the cannabis trade show that happened in Las Vegas, the largest trade show for the cannabis industry. And there I met a company that basically created a device that it was sold to the U.S. military to identify organophosphate pesticides in foods to see if things are contaminated or not, or other chemicals, right? And so I basically brought this hemp down there to the convention center, and they tested it on their $18,000 device, and they said it was hot. It was basically hot. It had some organophosphate pesticide residues. Now, at the same time, I brought some kale, or some tree collards actually, off my plants here, grown here locally, that I do not spray anything on it. So unless somebody's sneaking in my garden spraying stuff, and they tested that also, and that tested clean. So that was like my control to know that, hey, if I test one of my things that I know I didn't spray nothing on and it's clean, and the other one tests dirty, it's dirty, man. So yeah, that's all I know. I haven't released that video yet. I'm really backlogged on posting videos since I'm have so many videos on my gardening channel that just have not been yet released because I'm editing my videos myself, and it's a lot of work to do all my shopping and buy produce and travel and edit my videos and just trying to, make healthy food for myself because I make all my food fresh. So, yeah, it'll be up one of these days. So, yeah. Next question is from Jessica Pinto. Hi, John. I was curious if you use apple cider vinegar at all for your salads. I am trying not to add the olive oils anymore or the Himalayan salt, and do not use any other vinegars besides the apple cider. It seems to be helping me not to crave the salt because it has a nice tang to it. Also, since salts are not good, the miso I have used a lot in the past, but there's a lot of salt in the miso, so curious why this is okay to use, but a pinch of Himalayan salt is not. Love your channel, and you inspire so much. Thank you, Jessica. Let's see here. So yes, I do use apple cider vinegar raw, as well as a few other vinegars that I can get that are raw whenever possible. That being said, if you get a good organic vinegar, even if it wasn't raw, I would probably say, and it gets you to eat more salads, right? I'd say that's a good thing and do it. Not to say, oh, vinegars are bad. And yes, vinegars are an acid and you don't want to drink vinegar straight. And I probably wouldn't do vinegar shots, on any large scale, maybe here and there just for fun. But, I think it can be a nice complement and in addition to your food. Now, the other thing besides vinegars you guys could use is like lemon juice, which is also an acid, which will add that kind of nice tang, to your recipes. I personally like some different kinds of raw vinegars. My favorite, that if you guys are in the, European Union, you guys might be able to find because it's from Spain. It's actually raspberry vinegar. That stuff is the bomb. I got some pomegranate vinegar raw. And I just like to use these for flavorings to kind of like spice things up, to make things taste a little bit different in my salad so that I do not have to add salt, okay? Now that's number one tip. Second tip besides vinegar and an acid flavor, there are so many other flavors that you can use in your salads instead of using salt. So one of the things I like to use a lot is my homegrown peppers. I basically dry and powder up and I add that, and if I make some cayenne or other kind of hot spicy peppers, like you could just buy some pepper powder and put it a dash, not a lot, in your salads, right? You'll get that fire intensity, right? Which to me is better than salt. I enjoy this more than salt, and then I don't miss the salt or that salty flavor as much when I'm having that mineral density. The other thing I use aside from these is I use seaweed powders. So I get from Nature Spirit Herbs in Oregon. They basically wildcraft and harvest seaweeds out of the ocean that they've tested clean, that they basically powdered up into a 6 seaweed blend mix. I buy that and then I shake a little bit into my salad dressings at night to add the trace minerals, as well as some small amounts of sodium, but also more importantly the other trace minerals, as well as other plant nutrients from the amazing sea plants known as sea vegetables. All right. I commend you on not using olive oil anymore and getting rid of that salt shaker. Even if you think a pinch is all right of salt, right? You put a pinch on, oh, it's not enough, you add more. So like, I just don't like to have salt in my house. It's rare that I use it. I do have some, but it's quite rare that I use it. So my goal is to use something else that actually has a lower sodium content. Now, here's the thing. I have a video, I'll post a link down below if I remember. Basically, salt is not a health food, and it is true that sodium is an essential nutrient. We need just the right amount, not too much, not too little, and most Americans, in my opinion, are eating far too much, especially if you're eating processed foods. I have had some friends that just totally try to eat just fruits and vegetables, and then they get deficient in sodium, and maybe they didn't pay attention to how much celery they're eating or other sodium-rich vegetables. So, there's two sides of the story. In most cases, I believe most people eat far too much. So that's why I would encourage you guys to, really pay attention to that, because this will, in my opinion, hurt you in the long run, dosing on salt. Now, the reason why they say salt or Himalayan salt or whatever salt is good is because of the trace minerals, which I agree, trace minerals are good, but there are better sources than salt, which is mostly sodium. There's just a speck or contamination of trace minerals in there, and then trying to say that because it's 97% sodium and 3% trace minerals, if that, it's a good thing. Like, the trace minerals are in my vegetables, man. I grow these nutrient-dense vegetables. Stay tuned for an upcoming episode where I have Wendy from Wendyland taste test my vegetables, and she agrees that my white Siberian kale is so minerally rich, so tasty, and for her, tastes like sugar cane, which is insane to me. But that's what I'm used to eating, see, and most people don't have mineral-rich foods that they, people add minerals into the soil to grow high-quality food, which I think is sad. So if you guys can't grow your own and add the right supplements to the soil, fertilizers, then get the seaweed, because you will get the other trace minerals, which are critical to our health. I want to have an upcoming video on trace minerals as well as phytonutrients, which are very important to our health, and and of course the fiber that's often underestimated, in my opinion. All right, so let's see. So why is miso okay to use but salt isn't? All right. So here's the thing. Number one, I get the low sodium miso. Many misos are super high in sodium, right? That being said, when you put miso on a food, it adds more than just the salt, right? The first ingredient in miso is not salt. It's generally, hopefully, organic soybeans, right? As well as some bacteria that basically cultured or fermented the soybeans or the other beans or grains that they are using to make the miso. So then it creates secondary, basically bacterial metabolites or different additional nutrients, as well as probiotics in there, as well as all the benefits from the beans that can be deficient in a raw foods diet. Now, it is a heat processed product. I would consider it a live food product, not a raw product. And once again, I get the low sodium version, and I have to go to the special Asian store or international marketplace in town to find it, because most, standard health food stores only carry the high sodium versions of the miso that I use, and I only buy organic miso, so that's very important. In addition, the miso, aside from adding the salty flavor, will also add the, fifth flavor or sixth flavor, the umami flavor, which, adds flavor depth so that you do not miss the salt as much and you do not need as much. All right, so I hope that answers your question. Next question is from Jay Ree, and says, can you sell your seeds? I try to buy seeds to grow my garden, but a lot of them are hybrids. All right. So I do sell some seeds, although that will be going away here pretty soon, and that's at growingyourgreens.ecwid.com. Now, I only sell the seeds that I grew in my garden, and actually I'm not even selling them. My ex-girlfriend is selling them, because that was a deal and arrangement I had with her. But now that she's not my girlfriend anymore, she's still selling until she runs out and she's not getting replenished. So that's kind of what's going up. So that being said, there's very few seeds that you can buy from me that I grew. That being said, I'm not, the super most, against hybrid variety of seeds. What do hybrids mean? So hybrids, they're not GMO, number one. Number two, they're grown for specific reasons. Number three, you cannot necessarily save your seeds and then plant them again and get the same exact crop, right? I grow plenty of hybrids in my garden, and I'm glad to do so. Some of those hybrids I'm growing are like purple, broccoli and things like that, that may not have a heirloom style counterpart. On some levels, heirlooms are better, and on some levels, hybrids are better, depending on what's important to you. I definitely do not grow or do not encourage you guys to grow any GMOs. So all the seed companies I recommend do not sell GMO seeds. If you want heirloom seeds, then check out rareseeds.com. That's the best source of heirloom open pollinated seeds that I'm aware of. If I remember, I'll put a link down below to actually their seed warehouse, and I visited them in Missouri one day and made a video there. They are an amazing source and have such a wide variety of seeds, and I encourage all you guys, even if you're not going to grow a garden, to order their free catalog. You will be amazed at all the amazing pictures and all the amazing foods, fruits and vegetables that you probably never eaten. And hopefully once you get the catalog, you'll see, wow, this is really cool. There's so many varieties of stuff. You'll just order some seeds and you'll start a garden like I've been encouraging you guys to do. All right, so from I Am CEO, more HSV updates. So I could only guess that that was referring to a video I did with a young lady I met in Canada at the Canada Fruit Festival, and I have not spoken to her or heard from her since I made the video. So. Next question is from maybe a Japanese name that I cannot pronounce because it's all in Japanese characters. And it says, any tips for transitioning to raw? So, I mean, I have videos on this whole topic already, but basically my tips are, for most people, although there are exceptions, I recommend slowly transitioning to raw. That's very important, right? You know, I went overnight, and I do not necessarily recommend that for everybody. For, you know, select portion of the population, that might be really good, because some of you guys I know are all or nothing. But for most people, the all or nothing thing doesn't work, because you'll go all raw, and then you won't be able to keep it up, and then you're just like, you'll have one cooked thing or one vegan processed food thing, and you'll eat it, and then you'll be like, I screwed up, I'm not going to be raw anymore. Because it's all or nothing, right? I want you guys to go slow and moderately. That's the biggest recommendations and tips that I could give you guys for going and transitioning to raw. You know, and the basics are just eat more fruits and vegetables, right? Displace the foods you're currently eating, whether they're vegan processed foods, junk foods, animal products, whatever, with more fruits and vegetables, right? If you're going to have a big chicken steak for dinner, I don't necessarily recommend that. I just said it off the top of my head, you know, and you would normally eat that for dinner, eat half as much of the chicken steak, and then eat a big half of a salad, right? So that's displacing half of the chicken steak that you would normally eat, or hamburger, or whatever else, right? And slowly but surely reduce the size of the hamburger and the junk food you're eating, and slowly increase the amount of salad you're eating and other fruits and vegetables, right? And do this slowly over time. Very important. Our bodies do not like quick, massive changes for the most part. It gets quite upset, especially your microbiome will get upset. Your body will react. I can't eat vegetables because every time I eat vegetables I get bloated or I get stomach aches, because your microbiome and you're not used to it. So add one extra bite of vegetables a day. Like, it's highly likely that you're not going to get bloated from one extra, you know, mouthful of vegetables a day. And keep that up for a month, right, if you got to. Maybe do 2 extra, you know, mouthfuls of vegetables a day. You don't get bloated. And then the next month do 3, the next month do 4. By the end of the year, you'll have 12 extra mouthfuls of vegetables, and you'll be on your way to, you know, basically digesting and incorporating more of these raw foods and fruits and vegetables in you. Now, of course, I would recommend going faster than 1 mouthful a month, but that's just me. Now, the other thing I would recommend that's very important to transitioning, or even any healthy diet, in my opinion, in this day and age, and I do sell juicers, is juice. Why? Juicing allows you to concentrate the nutrients that are in the foods that may not be in the foods if they're grown industrially, so it's a good thing to concentrate minerals and phytonutrients, in my opinion. Also, it's high in water content. Many people lead a dehydrated life, especially if you're eating cooked foods. And in addition, what the juicing allows you to do is remove some, but not all of the fiber, depending on what produce item you're juicing. So that means it makes it easy for your body to digest and deal with and handle, so that you may not get all the massive bloating and you know, things and indigestion from eating high volumes of vegetables with all their complex fiber, especially if you don't have the right microbiome to do it. I'll put a link down below to how to start raw foods, a video that I made to help you out even more. All right. Next question is from Don Chapin. I'm planning on going to raised bed gardening. Do you have a favorite medium to use in the raised beds? So my favorite medium to use in the raised beds is basically called Mel's Mix. And it's 1/3 compost, 1/3 coconut coir or peat moss, and 1/3 vermiculite. Now that's a good basic mix, although I would encourage you guys to check my gardening channel, where I basically have all different kinds of soil blends that I use. And while that is a good starting blend, you know, I would personally kick up the compost percentage in there, add things like rock dust and worm castings, as well as other, you know, things I could get locally to create even a healthier soil to grow more high quality plants. Next question is from Emiliano Gonzalez. I could eat raw for the rest of my life, no problem. I've taken some raw food classes and I've bought various books, so I know how to crank out great raw food from sophisticated to simple. My big challenge, which I've not managed to overcome, is the social aspect of food choices. Restaurants are fun to go to, and I find my wife and I add a lot of richness and pleasure to our lives going to restaurants. Same with my friends and family. So how, John, do you manage to be a man living in this modern world and surely needing to plug into restaurant culture, at least sometimes, while maintaining a 100% raw diet? I can't seem to do it, and it's a shame because I do know that I've never felt better than when I'm high raw to fully raw. Any wisdom greatly appreciated. Thanks for being such a consistent voice for living foods. You're a tour de force. All right, Emiliano. So number one, I want to correct, you know, I'm like 99% raw 100% of the time. So there are some heat food process exceptions, although my stove is not connected. I don't heat anything up or cook food on a regular basis. I eat fresh fruits and vegetables. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is that I don't plug into the restaurant culture, right? I am single, and even when I did have a girlfriend, we didn't go out to restaurants that much because I simply refuse to eat out at restaurants that aren't raw and at least have clean raw foods that I enjoy. In my town where I live, there's one raw restaurant that I basically eat very rarely if somebody takes me out to, but I just don't eat there. I mean, I could get a better meal from harvesting stuff in my backyard. And I mean, I'm just not that much of a social person, believe it or not. Anyways, I'm mostly an introvert that has become more extroverted due to making videos and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so I don't really plug into that stuff. So I mean, but I feel you because it is so like common that people eat out at restaurants. I mean, it's like what you do in your spare time when you're free and you don't feel like making food. And I make food all the time. Trust me, I was in the kitchen probably like the good majority of the day making food. And I enjoy that. And I would not enjoy as much going out to a restaurant, paying good money for non-organic food, you know, food that I'm not going to feel good after, food that's going to have too much of high salt and maybe not as nutrient dense as I'm used to eating. You know, there are some exceptions. You know, when I do find a good raw food restaurant, I will go out and support them, even make a raw food review video for you guys. So try to find one in your area so that you could continue to go to a raw food restaurant, and although they may not even serve the level of raw where you're at least it'll be raw and hopefully organic. That being said, I do have a few tricks. So if somebody really wants me to take me out to like some kind of business lunch or dinner or something, I would generally choose a Mexican restaurant because at least I could get usually pico de gallo and guacamole that's fresh. Although one restaurant I put sour cream in their guacamole, which is whacked out. I think I found that out after I ate it. So, but yeah, that was not my choice. And then you could usually get a salad, you know, so I just basically get a salad and guacamole and salsa or pico de gallo on top. Super simple, super easy. I mean, I have a whole bunch of different tips on how to eat at a restaurant if you do need that. I mean, basically you want to scan the menu in advance and just, you know, take the waiter aside and tell them that the doctor says you're on a special diet and you need to get these things. But then also that might look funny to friends and family and all these things, and you might not want to step out of line. I mean, another thing I have done in the past is bring my own food. That's a bit more chutzpah-y, you know, and ask for a plate and then pour out my food. I think 2 places I've gotten kicked out of, and they didn't want me to whack out my own food. Like one place was in Paris, France, and I think there's another place where they would not allow me or give me a plate even to eat my own food. They just wouldn't allow me to bring my own food in their restaurant, which is quite sad. So other than that, I really don't have any tips for you than trying to make it work and, you know, maybe have more dinner parties at your house, you know, so you don't have to plug in a restaurant culture, but you can have potlucks and still have the social get-togethers where we all come around food, but not have to necessarily go to a restaurant to do it, all right? So our next question is from Jolinda Beard. I'm starting to grow dandelions to eat and juice. Do you have any tips as you need a lot to juice or eat? All right, so growing dandelions is pretty easy. I mean, just throw the seeds out and they will grow, and just grow a lot of them. Depending on the time of year, you may need to grow, you know, like more or less. So for example, like in the winter time when there's not as much sun, they don't grow as fast, so you got to really plan in advance. And you know, I just have dandelions coming up in random spots, and when I see one where somewhere I don't want it, I pluck it up and I put it somewhere where I do want it. So I always have at least a few plants growing. You know, I would also look into, if you're just harvesting wild dandelions to grow, there are cultivated varieties. If you look in seed catalogs, there's known as chicory. So chicory is closely related to dandelion with all the same properties, and some of them may grow larger leaves so that you can grow them even faster than just some of the standard wild ones that may have, you know, smaller leaves and whatnot, and that may help you out there. All right, next question is from Kenny Nixon. Dear John, could you do a demonstration on the Breville slow juicer and tell me how you would rate it against, say, a Kuvings C7000 or any other good quality slow juicer? Thank you. Alright, so Breville has two slow juicers, and actually both of them, as far as I'm aware, are made by Kuvings for Breville. So it'd be almost pointless to compare it to, say, a 7000 model, because technically they share the same auger and screen, and so it's just, who do you want to get the warranty support from, Breville or Kuvings? Alright, next question is from George Fruit. Know of any good vegan collagen substitutes for having great skin, hair, and nails? So here's the thing, right? I mean, collagen comes from animals. We are an animal and we can make our own collagen. So that's basically what it is. So what's real important for collagen production? I mean, there's probably a bunch of things, but what comes immediately to my mind is vitamin C. Vitamin C is a non-persistent vitamin. It's a water-soluble vitamin, and if we don't eat it on a regular basis, we don't have enough, in which case if your body doesn't have enough of any different nutrients, your body is not going to be running efficiently and your body's not going to produce nice collagen. So I recommend eating vitamin C foods throughout your day for more collagen production. I haven't researched necessarily this specific topic myself. I have looked it up in the past, but I don't really remember all the different stuff. But I like to say that, I eat a vitamin C rich diet. Like I love pepper soup, as well as different, right now it's citrus season, so I've been basically drinking Manolo blood orange juice, as well as the different leafy greens, right? I also encourage you guys to eat a wide variety of different foods and different food sources. Don't just eat bananas, dates, and romaine hearts. Try to get a widest variety and try that new and different vegetable at the health food store or at the farmer's market that you'd never had, or even grow a new one in your garden, so you could have all the benefits from all the different phytonutrients, phytochemicals, vitamins, and minerals, because our body is a complex, like, living creature, and we need all kinds of different nutrients. And if you're eating a limited diet, then your body will not run as efficiently. Next question is from apoos13. I know you don't consume animal products, but do you have any thoughts on, or have you seen any studies on bone broth? So I have not seen any studies on bone broth. I haven't honestly looked those up personally. My comments on bone broth is that it sounds nasty, like basically boiling bones or cooking bones down and extracting the nutrients from them and then drinking that. Like, why don't we take human bones and extract the nutrients from that and drink it? Like, would you do that? Like, I wouldn't do that with bone broth. But like, if you think about it, what's the benefit of bone broth? So in the bones, that's where the minerals are stored, right? And they're basically, in animal meats, there's not that many trace minerals in it. Guess what? In vegetables, especially the stalks of my leafy greens, they are mineral storehouses, especially because I have mineral-rich soil. Like, Wendy was over here tasting my greens, and she's like, these are the most mineral-tasting greens I've ever tasted, because the stalks store the minerals. So a lot of people strip their kale off and just eat the kale leaves, and they never eat the stems. And it's quite sad. My kale stems are quite sweet and delicious. You may not be finding those at the store near you, because they've been harvested, picked, and shipped, and the plant rigor mortis set in, and they're really tough and stuff. So if you guys do only eat your greens, save your stems for juicing so you can extract the rich mineral richness out of them. Another problem, though, in this day and age is that the farmers are not putting in the trace minerals that they should, in my opinion, to create high quality food. That's why I got to do it myself. So the different kinds of, rock dust powders and soil humates and kelps and, different things like that not being added. So, the plants don't have the minerals that they should. Now, animals are bioaccumulators. They'll accumulate minerals from their lifetime supply of everything they've eaten, as well as the good minerals, but also the heavy metals. So you got to watch out when you're leaching metals out of bones, or minerals out of bones. There may be also heavy metals in there. I think a much better alternative to bone broths is, number one, eating your plant stems. Very important. Celery, plant stem, rich in minerals. Juice celery every morning. The medical medium has a celery juice. One of the reasons why it's so beneficial, in my opinion, is because it is a mineral accumulator. The stems of plants accumulate more minerals than, say, the leaves do, or even the fruits, right? Next thing is Eat seaweeds, right? Seaweeds also store minerals, and they can be deficient in plant-based or even vegan or raw vegan diets. So eat more sea vegetables. So I want to make a stem using stems of my greens, as well as a sea vegetable broth that's raw, extract it probably under vacuum in the sun. Maybe I'll have to do this in the summertime to get the mineral richness that you would get in the bone broth, plus without all the, you know, funkiness and having to think about like that's an animal bone that you're basically drinking. Of course, if you're my dog and I give him a bone, you know, I'll let him eat that because that's natural for him, but it surely ain't natural for me to chew on bones or extract nutrients from bones, in my opinion. Next question is from April's Adventures. What are some kitchen utensils that would be great in the kitchen with produce? All right. So there's a lot. Number one, ceramic knives. I like the Kyocera brand ceramic knives. A good cutting board. A large bowl. So go to a restaurant supply store. I was using my super huge, large stainless steel bowl, basically to harvest like 20 leaves of like huge leaves of my white Siberian kale today. So bowls, knives, cutting boards, very important. I mean, after that, it's like specialty utensils. You know, I have a device for basically cracking nuts. I have a device for taking coconut meat out of mature coconuts. I have, you know, a special fish fillet knife that I use to pop out the eyes of the coconuts. I have all these different special tools that I love so much, and I don't know if I'd recommend them necessarily for everybody. I have a juicer for citrus, so I could blast through, you know, juicing my Manolo Tangelos. I have a standard household, you know, vertical juicer for juicing fruits and vegetables. I have a vacuum blender. I mean, there's so many different kitchen gadgets. I don't really use a spiralizer much anymore, actually, but I do have a julienne slicer disc or grating thing that I use, and I also use a food processor a lot, actually. So maybe I'll have an upcoming video with my favorite kitchen tools. I think I have an old one. I'll post a link down below if I remember to that one. And let's see here. She had another question here. What are some tips or tricks when you are learning to eat more produce and you're getting in a funk? Thanks for your videos. Alright, so some tips on eating more produce when you're getting in a funk. It's something you've never tried before. You know, I don't know how you're eating fruits and vegetables, but if you always spiralize them, you know, then dice them up, right? Put them in a blender and make a vacuum blended smoothie, right? Or a vacuum blended salad. You know, make a raw food soup, right? You can dehydrate things that change the texture, right? There's so many different ways you can eat raw foods. I mean, freeze-dried food, another way, and another great, basically, food texture to try to mix it up. You know, include new and different foods that you're not used to eating. A lot of people have a shopping list and they get the same exact foods every single week, right? My goal is to get new and different foods and foods I did not get last week and always process them in different ways. So like last time at the terminal, I got 12 heads of organic cauliflower for $12. And so I've been processing those into cauliflower pizza crusts, right? I got 45 pounds of organic cabbage for $10 that I haven't used yet. And I'm probably going to turn some into kraut and I'm going to juice some. I got a whole bunch of iceberg lettuce that I normally buy, but it was basically a case of 12 for $10 that I've basically been juicing celery and iceberg lettuce from. You know, every time I get new and different produce, and every time I'm using it in new and different ways, right? Oh, I got purple carrots that I'm juicing. And yeah, so, I mean, juicing is also very excellent. You know, I make so many different juices that always mix it up. So I generally have a juice meal, a fruit meal, which I'm actually going to have next. I'm going to have white zapotes. And then I usually have a salad or soup meal. So tonight I'll be having a soup, raw food soup. All right. Let's see. Next question is from Veggies and Kilos 1. What is the most underrated vegetable or leafy green that's sold in most conventional grocery stores? Is there something that has to be grown in natural soil with real sunlight that's sold among the rest? Thanks. All right. So the most underrated vegetable or leafy green that's sold in most conventional grocery stores is, drumroll please, broccoli sprouts. Yes, the broccoli sprouts, you know, so beneficial. Broccoli sprouts sold in most standard grocery stores in this day and age are one of the most nutrient-dense foods that you can buy. You know, that you don't even have to grow. That being said, it is very easy to grow, and you should grow it yourself because you will save lots of money and have even a fresher, higher quality product. And of course, then you could definitely ensure you have organic broccoli seeds to start with. And I would recommend the Sprout Man to get the seeds from if you want some good broccoli seeds to sprout. After that, I would say other brassica family greens are just underrated. Probably my favorite is baby arugula or wild arugula. If you guys could find that, that is amazing. It is one powerhouse of nutrition, and people should eat more of it. And then, is there something that has to be grown in natural soil with real sunlight that's sold among the rest? So I'm not exactly understanding that question. I always encourage you guys to buy food that is grown in soil with natural sunlight, because natural sunlight provides all the different spectrum of the light universe. And it basically puts stresses on plants that basically artificial lighting with one certain frequency of wave spectrum of light cannot supply, in my opinion. In addition, there are foods in the health food store or grocery store, such as hydroponically grown lettuce, hydroponically grown tomatoes, and even hydroponically grown cucumbers, sometimes hydroponically grown peppers, that are not grown in soil, that in my opinion are not as good as soil grown. That being said, some of these items are even organic certified, such as the peppers I got recently. So I always teach you guys good, better, best. Just because it's grown not in soil doesn't mean you should avoid it. What it means is that there are better options. And of course, in the wintertime when peppers are being imported, it's much easier to get greenhouse grown peppers that are grown hydroponically, that are certified organic, than not even at all, because peppers are one of my favorite foods and they're really rich in vitamin C. And I got an amazing deal. I got basically 11 pounds of organic red peppers for 11 bucks. So I got like 40 pounds, and I've been working through them and cranking them in to me, usually in the form of the juice, or I juice them and then I basically turn that juice into soup. I'll put a link down below how I make my raw food pepper soup. All right. Next question is from Wolfman. Not sure if you've ever covered it, but what do you think about drinking distilled water? I've used a carbon filter for years, but was thinking of getting a small distiller. Some people say the body can't absorb minerals from hard water and distilled is healthier. Other people say minerals in water is good and distilled is not. In any case, going to give distilled a go. Just interested in hearing your thoughts or experience on the matter. P.S. I heard there might be a little ice age coming. Are you scoping out some new digs in Florida? Just kidding. Always inspired watching your show. Regards from Australia. All right, Wolfman, so I've changed my thoughts recently on this. I used to think that filtered water is better than basically distilled water or reverse osmosis because it kept the minerals. And, and in my opinion now, that was really not correct. I was maybe more sucked into the people selling water filters because I actually sold them at one point. And I thought, oh yeah, minerals are good. But what I've learned from the Dead Doctors Don't Lie, Joe Wallach guy, have a link, I have a video with him, is that minerals need to have the right charge on them to get absorbed properly. So when I water my garden with the water hose and there's minerals in there, the plants and the soil, the microbes basically convert those inorganic minerals to minerals and take it up in the plant tissues that now I can absorb. So I'd much rather get my minerals from juiced leafy greens out of my garden than a water. Now, we can absorb minerals from water, but we absorb a small percentage of them. In addition, they may also cause challenges in our bodies, especially as you get older, in my opinion, with things like calcification. If you guys live in a house and you guys see there's all these white deposits or white film, I mean, I know they have them on my drip emitters here in my backyard, but it's also collecting to a lesser extent in my house because I have a magnetic water softener thing. That's hard water deposits. And think about it, when you're drinking your water, you're drinking those minerals that may also be depositing in you. And also, don't forget about our furry friends, right? My dog, he drinks distilled water also, not tap water. It's very important because I don't want him to have any kind of calcification. And of course, he gets his minerals from the food he eats, as well as he takes some mineral supplementation in his dog foods. So yeah, so I would definitely say distilled water. That being said, my goal is not to drink distilled water for a living. My goal is to have enough hydration from the fruits and vegetables I eat so that I could avoid drinking water. I got it down to maybe like drinking a liter or maybe 2 at the max of water or coconut water these days. And depending on where I am and how much juice I'm drinking, like today I drank 16 plus 24 plus 32 ounces of juice plus 3 ounces thus far. So I've had quite a bit of juice here. So that's my current thinking for you guys on that. Now the next question is from Charlotte Bojeling. Let's see. Could you develop the difference between juice fasting and water fasting? Maybe could you show the difference between juice fasting? Okay, so really juice fasting is not really fasting, because fasting means abstaining from. So when you're water fasting, you're basically only drinking water, and when you're drinking water, basically your body reacts differently because you are not getting in any nutrients. It basically goes into a different mode where we're burning more fat and able to utilize some of the stored nutrients in our bodies for a period of time. I only encourage you guys, if you guys are going to do a water fast, to do it a supervised water fast. I recommend True North Health Center in Santa Rosa, California, as a place that does supervised water fasting with medical doctors on staff, so you guys can be safe. I do not recommend other people or other places that do water fasting. It may be dangerous, and in some cases I have heard stories of people losing their life in places that do water fasts. So if you're going to do it, go to the place that I would recommend. That's the only place that I'm aware of that I would send somebody to at this time. That's number one. When we juice fast, hey, juice fasting is great. It gives our body a huge rest from having to digest food, because now you're just drinking vegetables in their liquid form with some but not all the fiber removed, depending on what juice you're using and what vegetable or fruit you are juicing as well. And this takes an incredible burden off our body, but at the same time, it's also feeding our body with liquid nutrition, including vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals, some fiber, and all the different nutrients in the vegetables that can sustain us for a while. I did meet a guy that lived on juices only for like a year, and I do not recommend living on juices for a year. He was looking quite thin and gaunt, and he was thinking it was helping him, and in my opinion, somebody living on juices for like a year, I mean, you're kind of going negative at a certain point. So at a certain point, juice fasting is good, but then at a certain point you plateau, and then you start going down because the juices cannot provide, especially our microbiome, everything we possibly need. Now, of course, for a short 7-day, 14-day, maybe 30-day juice fast, I don't really see that a problem, because, I mean, we live in a toxic world, man. We're breathing toxins in our, furniture and carpets, off-gassing, and we need to be able to get rid of those, and I think juice fasting provides that beneficial way to do so in a slow and gentle manner, whereas, water fasting can be a lot more hardcore and especially dangerous, because toxins can basically detox out of you faster. So that's why you need to be monitored, when doing it, so you're safe. All right. Last question is from Joshua Brown. John, do you have a natto source you can recommend? Yeah, so my natto that I buy is from Megumi Natto in Sebastopol, California. If I remember, I'll put a link down below. You can order on their website. That being said, it can get quite expensive. I pay about, last time I bought it, I paid $3.79. I think normally I pay like $3.99 per, I think it's like 3 or 4 ounce container, which is actually quite expensive. But I also have tried to make it myself on several occasions and have not been successful. So one of these days when I have a lot more time, I want to go ahead and figure out how to do it myself, because it is really not that hard to do it yourself. You just need to figure it out and get your techniques down. And so actually I haven't visited a natto factory yet, so I want to do that so I can see the exact steps and processes and tips they do and make a video and share with you guys, but also learn for myself on how to make natto so that I don't have to be a slave to buying natto the rest of my life. And I become a producer instead of consumer in our consumer-driven society. And I would encourage you guys also to be producers whenever you can. Making natto is not rocket science for some reason. I haven't been able to perfect it. Maybe it's because I got to cook soybeans to do it. I don't exactly know. I'm always successful making fermented vegetables. Anyways, yeah, so that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. The sun's down. I got to water the garden, then get in and actually have my white sapote meal that I'm really looking forward to now. So if you guys enjoyed this Q&A, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with somebody else that you might think it'd help with sharing my raw foods knowledge that I've accumulated over the last 25 years doing it. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new and upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up. I'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge over 500 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel, dedicated to teach you guys all about eating some of the healthiest foods on the planet, which are the fresh fruits and the fresh vegetables. So with that, my name is John Kohler with okraw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.